A federal judge in Seattle will consider a motion on this Tuesday for a preliminary injunction to put on hold President Donald Trump's executive order suspending the federal Refugee Resettlement Program and funding for resettlement agencies. Major aid agencies sued over the order in U.S. District Court in Seattle earlier this month. A lot to dissect on this story, so we want to bring into the conversation the expert, trial attorney Jeremy Rosenthal. I knew that would make you smile. Good morning, Jeremy. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Gina. Yes, it always makes me smile to be called a trial lawyer. Thank you.
Well, a pleasure to have you join us bright and early on this Tuesday. So, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get started. We've seen a lot of court hearings as it relates to President Donald Trump and his executive orders. This one specifically, it takes us out to the windy city of Seattle as it relates to the resettlement program. Break this down for us. Let's first start off with, what is it?
It's a really complicated thing that is quite confusing, and we tend to sort of conflate it with other issues. Obviously, across the world, there are people who are being persecuted for whatever reason. A lot of these are religious reasons. A lot of these are political reasons. There are people, say, in places like Afghanistan that helped the United States, helped our troops, helped our armed forces when we were over there fighting a war. And the United States has a long tradition of bringing these types of people into America. Obviously, when they emigrate from their country here, it's a very arduous process. A lot of logistical headaches, nightmares. There's a lot of red tape. And then when they get to the United States, they've got assistance, everything from groceries, language training, jobs. What our government does is a lot of nonprofits. I believe there's about 10 or so of these resettlement entities, vast majority of which are religious, affiliated with the Catholic Church, with the Jewish synagogue, with Christian organizations, and Muslim that bring these people in. What has happened is that with one of the executive orders that has frozen a lot of federal aid, for 90 days for review, it's frozen a lot of the money that these organizations rely on. And in some instances, what these organizations are arguing is, Mr. President, this money's already been spent. We're waiting on reimbursements at this point. And a lot of these people are they're overseas waiting here. They've given up everything and they can't come here, or they already are here and we can't give these people basic assistance. So these people have sued to freeze this executive order.
And that leads to my next question, Jeremy. As relates to this federal refugee resettlement program, people confused if this relates to those that are here of legal status or those that are on the cusp. They haven't received that legal status just yet. Also, questions as it relates to birthright citizenship about, maybe those that have been grandfathered in, maybe the children who are here on legal status and maybe their parents aren't.
These are going to be apples and oranges, so to speak. When you are a refugee under one of these resettlement programs, you are going to be allowed to. They're not going to bring you from another country to the United States unless or until you've got a visa of some sort. In a lot of instances, those are going to be some hardship visas. Again, think about the people in Afghanistan who helped our government, and then once the United States left, they're getting persecuted by that government, and so part of that is bringing them here lawfully from another country. So it has very little to do with some of those other immigration issues that we see, although it is under the umbrella of immigration, and that's what that's what the Department of Justice in part has argued. Part of the justification for this order is, look, the United States only has so much that we can give to other countries and to immigrants. And there's been some political tension here, as you might expect. Donald Trump in his first administration really pared back this program. President Biden vastly expanded it. His goal was to increase it from roughly 10 to 15,000 refugees every year to his goal was 125,000. Obviously, the new administration is reversing thrusters and bringing it back. So there is some tension back and forth.
So the looming question, what will happen today or what could happen today? We hear the term preliminary injunction. Break that down for us. What can we see on either side of this topic?
When a party is asking for a preliminary injunction, they have to show essentially two basic things. Number one is they have to show what's called a likelihood of success on the merits. In other words, from a snapshot, it looks like we're going to win this thing, which is not permanent, right? You know, everybody's got their full day in court and they're entitled to a full hearing on this, but you have to show that it's a likelihood of success. And the second thing, and it is probably more important, is what's called irreparable harm, meaning that if you don't get this granted, that you can never be repaired. So a good way to think of this is when you see these cases where somebody is told you can't graduate from high school or you're not allowed to walk across the stage with your class for whatever reason. And then you bring a suit for an injunction, which enjoins the government, the high school, whoever, the school district from preventing you from walking. And the irreparable harm is, look, I've only got one high school graduation. If you take it away from me, I will never be made whole. I will never I will lose this thing permanently. That's your law school example of what irreparable harm is. In this instance, what these organizations are saying is, look, we've already jumped off the diving board here. We think we're going to win this case because we feel like this money has already been pledged. Mr. President, you are the executive branch. The executive branch might want to control the purse strings, but Congress does that. And so we think we're going to win on the merits, and we think that we're going to be damaged permanently because these people are here and they need to be fed, and we don't have the money to feed them. That would be their argument. There was a similar argument that was made in the District of Columbia last week, which the federal judge did not freeze. Now, their argument in Seattle is a little bit different. It has more to do with people who are still overseas and not yet been here, although I think they would tell you it's both. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they're able to establish that. And it's quite likely. I don't know if I'd say likely. It's very possible that the federal judge freezes this today. And what they're freezing is that 90-day review where the executive wants to review this expenditure. I don't know that they want to permanently freeze it as of this moment, but it may be that the federal judge says, no, you got to pay this out. Congress has already pledged this money, and these people need this money to operate just over the next few months.
But Jeremy, always a pleasure talking law and order with you. Thank you so much for the detailed breakdown, expressing both sides of this topic. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Gene.